Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for starting this day with us. It's Tuesday, the 28th day of October, the greatest day of the month of October, and you'll find out why in a bit. Should I tell them why?
No, let's keep the cat in the basket.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to the show.
It's a brand new Tuesday. It's celebration galore in parts of West Africa and Central Africa because they've said, look, it's a continent for, it's no young men in this continent, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Congratulations to people of the Ivory Coast. Their 83-year-old president just won a fourth term in office, and also just down the road to West Africa. Congratulations to the great people of Cameroon. Their 92-year-old president, about to turn 93, just won an eighth term in office. So congratulations to the beautiful people of Ivory Coast and Cameroon. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. You know the drill. We bring you all the news, information, and insights, and deep analysis, deep dives into the stories that really matter. My name is Benga Aborowa.
All right, just to also mention that we're streaming live on YouTube. If you'd like to drop comments on any of the stories that we're talking about, go to YouTube, News Central TV, search for us and drop your comments. We want to hear your thoughts on these stories as we share them ourselves. But before I get into the very raggedy news of today, the very annoying, because there's a lot of annoying
it's democracy.
It's, what kind of democracy are we talking about?
Sorry, a gerontocracy. A government for old people.
Well,
yes.
Let me celebrate the only old person in my life. No, not the only old person, but I want to start today by celebrating especially my mother. Today is my mother's birthday, and I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing on News Central if my mother wasn't created. So I celebrate my mom's birth, and I just want to say thank you for being an exceptional role model, mother, and friend to me. I love you, Mommy.
We love you too, Mommy, and thanks for making and creating this exceptional human being.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're a very proud mother when you see the great strides of your mother. It's actually your mom I'm celebrating, not you.
No, I'm saying thank you on behalf of my mom.
Accolades. So where do we start from? Our neighbors to the east.
I think we should start with Kathleen's president.
Why do you put it that way?
So because we have to celebrate our own. Kathleen is one of ours here in News Central. She's our head of digital, and I think that it's very important that we celebrate the fact that she has a president for the 8th term. Paul Biya has, of course, been elected as the Cameroonian president for the 8th term. There's been celebration.
And that makes him, he's been the oldest president in the world.
For the longest
quite some time.
Yes, he's 92? Yes, 92 now.
And it seems there's something about that region, Central Africa. That's where you have Denis Sassou Nguesso in the Congo. You also have a young man that has, not a young man, Nguema, in Equatorial Guinea. He's been there since 1980. So they love their presidents. They like to keep them there for a long time. But not everyone seems to be happy, as you can see in the visuals. There's been protests in Douala over the weekend with regards to the elections. People are protesting the results, and the opposition candidate also claimed victory, but the Electoral Commission and the Constitutional Council yesterday declared 92-year-old, I beg your pardon, President Paul Biya as Cameroon's president.
According to the Constitutional Council, like you mentioned, he won by 53.66% of the vote, and his main challenger, Issa Bakary, came second with 35.19%, with voter turnout being 57.7%. Benga had mentioned earlier that there has been protests in Douala, there's protests in Yaoundé, there's protests in Garoua, and the young people, Cameroonian has a very large young population. They're protesting this win because they do not believe that this win was a legitimate win. What it would seem is that the ruling elite, the CPDM party, the military, the loyal governors, have instead protected what is currently existing as opposed to allowing the will of the people to prevail. So
let's also tell you that the footage you're watching, these are recent pictures, but President Paul Biya has not been seen in public in quite a while. So the pictures of the president, the visuals of the president you're seeing are foul footages. And he didn't even show up for campaign. That's how much the people perhaps love him. There was one campaign that he sent effigies. That's like the
like
teddy
Halloween.
bear, something like Halloween.
Halloween,
you get it. To
well,
campaign.
this is his acceptance speech.
Why is acceptance speech in text?
Well,
why didn't he say it? Is he not excited to win an 8th term?
For now, the president is really not in the mood to speak. He's rejoicing and basking in the euphoria of his win. Okay. He said,
President Paul Biya says, at this point in time, when the sovereign people have once again, no, 8 again is not once again, placed their trust in me for a new term of office, my first thoughts are with all those who have unnecessarily lost their lives, as well as with their families as a result of the post-election violence. I fathom the weight of responsibility that has once again been entrusted to me and to the great expectations of my compatriots, particularly those of young people and women. With the presidential election behind us, I sincerely hope that together we resolutely undertake to build a peaceful, united and prosperous Cameroon. We really owe this to our beloved and beautiful country. As president of all Cameroonians, I would like to commend all those who took part in this electoral process that makes Cameroon a true democracy.
Wow.
I wish to particularly extend my sincere thanks to all the voters who chose me.
Democracy wins
signed, President
again.
Paul Biya, October 27, 2025.
Democracy wins again in Cameroon, but on a much, on a more serious note. What we see here again, the reactions of the young people, Issa Bakary claims that he won with about 54.8%, and this reflects two realities. There is a symbolic defiance. Issa Bakary, in a way, has a lot of support of the younger generation, 70% of them who believe that Paul Biya is a relic of the Cold War. So it's just very interesting to see how elections are still playing out in certain parts of the country, again, of the world rather. Again, young people are waking up and smelling the coffee, being a part of the process. They are pushing back. And I fear that, and a number of people have also shared those concerns, fear of, there's a fear of dissent, a fear of attacks that would spur, that would be born in certain parts of Cameroon. Absolutely. Because people feel great dissatisfaction. Legally, Paul Biya won, but morally, did he win?
I mean, even the legally is questionable, because by all electoral standards, and if you subject the polls to scrutiny, if you listen to what international electoral observers have said,
except the African Union.
Yes, I don't think they will give it a pass mark. But we know the African Union, people have described them as an old boys club. They always protect us. And when the military takes over, like we've seen, in parts of the Sahel, they suspend them from government. But when these democratic autocrats adjust the constitution, remove term limits, and remove term limits and violate their constitutions, they hardly have anything to say about that. And we've seen this player. Look, Uganda is going to the polls again. I believe this year.
Yoweri Museveni is going to come back
Museveni
again.
has been there, for over 40 years. You have Denis Sassou Nguesso in Congo. You have Isaias Afwerki in Eritrea. You have
Alassane Ouattara.
Ngema in Equatorial Guinea, and even the recently elected Peter Mutharika in Malawi is in his 80s.
Well, what we're seeing here and some of the complaints that, apart from the obvious fact that a number of them believe that the system was manipulated in favor of the president, we see here that critics and observers and civil society groups highlighted irregularities such as presence of deceased voters on registration lists, unequal distribution of ballots, accusation of ballot box stuffing. But, like I said earlier,
Mohamed Salah of Liverpool, that was in the Premier League, voted in Cameroon elections. We saw his name in the register and his picture. So it goes to show you the legitimacy of the elections.
But in all of this, it's very interesting that, again, the African Union will adjudge this election as
credible,
as having met international standards. What exactly is the role and the responsibility of the African Union. We must learn to tell ourselves the truth and call ourselves out when things are being done wrongly. It's not just in Cameroon, it's also in Ivory Coast.
Because we make a mockery of this democracy. Because, I mean, how do you explain everything that happened? And also Ivory Coast and other African countries.
But when you bring up the issue again, some of these people who are still in office are people who should have retired and spent a lovely time with their family.
Olive, okay, forget the presidency. As a 92-year-old,
you should be resting.
What should you be doing?
You should be resting, playing with your great-grandchildren.
I mean, you're in cognitive decline. Why would you be at the arms of affairs of a country? Do you know how serious the destiny of millions of people will be in your hands? Except, I mean, there are powers behind the scenes that are just propping him up to be president because of what they stand to gain. I don't think, because I remember him speaking, President Paul Biya was at a function in the United States when Obama was there. And he said, where am I? He wasn't even aware. There was a hot mic situation. His mic was on. He wasn't aware of what was happening. And then his aide told him, there are important people here. So that's clearly a man in serious cognitive decline.
But then is it just about him or the people who are surrounding him who are manipulating?
I don't think he has.
Exactly. Because I don't think he has as much
his wife, family members, and people who are manipulating.
The people around him who are probably manipulating this in
at the expense of millions of people.
Exactly. Because what? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Whilst Paul Biya hasn't yet come out to celebrate his win, we played a clip earlier. It's a clip of his commissioners who were celebrating, his win. But let's head now to social media and see what Nigerians are saying about Paul Biya's win on X. Maybe not just Nigerians, generally, what is being said about it on X. Tan Mani Patricio says, you know very well the truth, sir. But since you have proclaimed yourself as elected president, there's nothing the people can do. That's why the towns have been on semi-ghost, places closed, no jubilation. What does that mean to you, Mr. President? The Cameroonian people are sad. This is the reaction. No, we never placed our trust in you, Aqua's Gwen says. There is nothing you can do for us in the next 7 years. You had 43 years, but you took us back to the 90s. We need jobs, we need roads, we need development. And you have failed to make this country grow. Please, release us from the bondage. Oh.
I'm wondering if he will go for a ninth term. By that time, he will be 99 years old. And I wish him well in his next elections. Okay. Sir says, imagine a 92-year-old promising the youths that there's a bright future, yet he clung on to power for close to 5 decades.
My goodness.
The irony. In Yesiga, Frank Pat says, surely our African elders betrayed us. How can this man be declared a winner? Someone that can't even support himself while walking, can't recognize people, Africa, who bewitched our land.
And we have another one. Jagaban official says, 1, no. Declared himself winner through the Constitutional Council, who are on his payroll, yes. And that's...
I guess that sums it up.
Yes. Yeah. And that, that's really the conclusion of that story.
In Cameroon, there are different layers. There's a commission that conducts the election, similar to our INEC here. And then there's another commission that vets the elections. And then the final responsibility of declaring the winner lies with the Constitutional Council. And that's why he made that statement here. But what can we do? We continue to watch and observe how things play out in Cameroon, and we can only wish the people, the good people of Cameroon, well. Okay.
All right, let's now move from that to our next story, bringing it back here in Nigeria, still on Nnamdi Kanu's case. A quick recap. Recall that the last time we talked about Nnamdi Kanu here, his lawyers, he had of course rejected their defense and had chosen to defend himself. There's been the protest in support of his release, but now Nnamdi Kanu has declined defense and has again now insisted that there is no case against him. Recall that he was granted bail, but was set to jump bail, but his defense was that his home was being invaded. He was being attacked, people were killed, he survived, and he fled for his life. It was in that moment he went to Kenya and then was brought back to Nigeria, a process that has been referred to as a kidnapping and an illegal extradition. But let's take a look at what Nnamdi Kanu said, and then we'll come back to speak about it.
Somebody standing in trial or coming to try me is a terrorist. That's what their law says.
As simple as that.
Not me.
As simple as that.
Section 2, subsection 3F of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. That's what it says. Any court considered to try me is committed an act of terrorism.
Yes.
Very clear. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then come to try that very person is not done anywhere in the world. So you must be aware of that. Yeah. So that is why there is all these ridiculous delays. That is what Supreme Court said. I did not jump bail. My home was invaded. They came to kill me and I survived. They came to Kenya to kidnap me, brought me back to this country and seeking to try me, which the law says cannot happen. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then hope to stand on that illegality to conduct a trial. Is not done anywhere in the world. And it will happen in my case.
So it seems, I mean, every other day there's a new twist and layer to this case, and it's just unending, one drama or the other. And we really, I mean, I have no comments at this point, but it would be nice to hear what Nigerians are saying about this.
All right, we'll come back to share our thoughts, but like Benga said, let's hear what Nigerians are saying.
Mr. Wale says he is wiser than the judge and the prosecutor. The Court of Appeal has quashed the terrorism charge against him. Why are they still trying him on a charge that has been quashed? So it's correct to say there's no case against him, says Mr. Odushola Wale. Tobin Panel says, this man is a descendant of Solomon. His wisdom is confusing the entire judicial system in Nigeria. To him, he's using them to catch fun because, truth be told, they don't know what they're moving towards.
Well, okay, 2 words. All right, that's Tobin Panel. This one says, if there's no solid case, release him and move on. If there is, then prove it in open court and let Nigerians see the evidence. You can't keep detaining someone for years without closure. It's either justice or oppression disguised as national security. And we have more tweets.
Maximus Caesar says, so laughable. I thought it was stupid enough to open a defense case. That was a trap set by federal lawyers. Once you open your defense, then the issue of rendition becomes irrelevant. Well, either way, it's a win-win situation for the federal government. He says, 1, Nnamdi Kanu opens his defense, he goes to jail. 2, Nnamdi Kanu refuses to open his defense, he still remains in detention, semi-jail. And I ask again, what's the sense behind him sacking all his lawyers that he wants to defend himself? And he concludes by saying it's just wasting his time.
Okay, and that's and then familiar spirits. Wow, what a name. Where the people where they happy say name Wiki and Malemi for a witness? Man, when if it open in defense, later them go say federal government and they delay in case. Interesting there. That's all that we have. So again, the question is, Nnamdi Kanu does have some sense in his argument to the point that you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. If Nigeria is part of a treaty and, you know, Nigeria has then on its own part not upheld its own end of that treaty, and you flouted the laws guiding that treaty, then maybe your hands are not as clean as you would like to present. A Kenyan court, a sitting Kenyan court, had granted in a judgment that the extradition of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya was legal, and not just a Kenyan court, even here in Nigeria as well. So the court in Nigeria had said that the lower court lacked jurisdiction because his extradition from Kenya was illegal. The reason why he ran to Kenya in the first place is, like he said, that his life was under threat, that he was attacked, he escaped with his life. And that doesn't seem to have been a logical argument. Again, many have said that the solution to Nnamdi Kanu's case will be a political solution and not a legal solution. We've been on this matter for the longest time. The people in the southeastern part of Nigeria have spoken, and you know there have been promises, even from the governors in southeastern Nigeria, have said that the sit-at-home order and all the drama that's happening in the southeast will be resolved if Nnamdi Kanu is released. And one struggles to understand why it's easier to forgive the terrorists and the bandits who want to be, quote-unquote, de-radicalized. Their children are given education. They're brought back into the society. In fact, some of them give press releases and are warning the government not to trespass into their territory, not to attack them. If not, they will come back in full force. And then this one man,
I mean, carrying out acts of terrorism in the
actual
open.
acts of terrorism
in the
with
open.
weapons, actual acts of terrorism. So one wonders.
I mean, the argument of the government is that the charges are very serious. They border on treasonable felony and also terrorism. So they would let the court decide. But I mean, like others have said that have appealed for clemency on his behalf, that, you know, if you can forgive terrorists and bandits and all those people, why don't we have a political solution?
Because the Attorney General can discontinue that case
exactly.
today.
It's been dragging for too long. But
and then they will have a conversation and decide what the way forward is.
We'll continue to see how this plays out.
All right. We'll move on from there to another conversation. And this time around, the governor of Plateau State has said that he is under pressure to join the APC. It reminded me of the song. You remember that song? Under Pressure. Under pressure, Miss Amy, under pressure. Let's take a look at the video.
Only 2 people will authorize me. It is not a lie that they also put pressure on me. But I told them, only 2 people will authorize me to change party. One is the God of heaven. The other is you people. Have you asked me to go anywhere? No. Have you asked me to go anywhere? No. So those who are rejecting me for what I did not look for, you know, they are doing a useless exercise. And they are only hiding their desire. They are only hiding their desire. The truth is that 60–70% of the people in APC on the plateau, I make bold to say, they will be glad to have us in their party. It's just that they are biting their finger. Musambaze is over. That's why they are angry and trying to twist it. And if anyway, let me leave it there. It's a story for another day.
And there you have it. He's talked about the pressure to move to the center. Lately, we've been seeing a lot of alignment with the center. A lot of governors moving to the center. Some of them even mandating the members of the executive council to as well move to the center. So Governor Monday Okpowolo of Edo State had mandated that any of his members, you know, those coming for their council meetings, they must all wear the Ashuraju cap, which is the cap that the president wears that has the infinity logo representative of allegiance to the president.
The chairman of the state,
Jared Tenebe.
Yes, also doubled down on that.
Yes.
So, you know, it wasn't just a mere statement that they should wear that cap.
No. Let me tell you what was said.
Yes,
he said, he said that any commissioner sent out of the State Executive Council meeting for not wearing Tinubu's signature cap will be suspended from the party.
So if I wear a suit, I still have to put on the cap, even if it's not fashionable.
Oh my goodness.
Things are happening.
No.
And for the governor of Plateau State, I mean, if you want to defect with your full chest. There's no need to say you're under pressure. After all, we've seen governors that have been in traditional PDP states since 1999 make the bold move to defect. We understand the political terrain we're playing in. And
so are you saying that this one is Michelle Gragra to let them know?
Like Governor Diri of Bayelsa State, he says he's about to defect, and it was, I mean, what people would describe as cold feet. He was catching cold feet. But he's yet to make the move, but the feelers are that he will move. Just like we heard rumors of the Enugu State Governor, Mr. Peter Mba, who has finally moved. So these two are the next in line to make that decision. And if I could take a wild guess, another prediction, I'll look at Governor Jackson Ademola Adeleke. No, that's going to be difficult because of the situation with APC in Osun State. It will be a difficult move. But Governor Diri and Governor Muchang of Plateau State are very likely to move before the end of the year.
That's your prediction. So your prediction is that Governor Doyediri and Governor Caleb Mutfwang, who moved to the APC.
And on the 1st of January, call me Prophet G.
On the 1st of January, we're going to review.
Call me Prophet G.
Prophet G, okay. But I just want to also quickly address what you made reference to, Jared Tenebe of the of Edo State, who had said that any member who doesn't come will be suspended. I wonder when our elections and our politics have been reduced to the point where you analyze commissioners' performances based on the absence of a logo, of a cap that has an insignia.
I mean,
shouldn't it be about your deliverables?
A personality cult, and this is the highest level of sycophancy you could ever think of, that you suspended a state appointee because he didn't put on a logo or a hat with the logo of the president's personal branding. What does that have to do with governance?
That it shows allegiance to the government, and that how dare you be
how have we reduced ourselves to this level? This is very shameful.
He says that it reeks of insubordination, that the Governor Monday Okwero, will give out an instruction that every commissioner should wear the Ashiwaju cap, and then you don't wear this. And I want to say this, that if our politicians can apply the same level of fangirling that they do to the president, to how they do their work in terms of being able to say, I want to deliver on these KPIs, I want to ensure a better quality of life for my people. If they're able to say, if you don't do this and that, you will be suspended as a commissioner.
We'll see a marked difference in their lives.
Then Nigerians will be able to applaud you. The same level of enthusiasm that they used to tell them, if you don't wear the Ashiwaju cap, you will be suspended. They should apply that same level of enthusiasm to ensuring that they see to it that every commissioner delivers on the mandate that they are meant to.
The same level of enthusiasm Governor Monday Okwebolo has used to promise the president 2 million votes in 2027 should be used to fix the roads in those states so they don't get stuck in when it rains and stuck in traffic. Yeah. All
right. Let's quickly see what Nigerians are saying about Governor Caleb Mutfwang, saying that he's under pressure to go to the APC. Okoyemi Akinyode says the journey has started. This is an absolute self-opinion sampling. When do the people start to matter? When they want to the camp? The stake is higher in plateaus now. The opponent of Governor Mutfwang in the last election is now the national chairman of the APC. The gas me is on. That's Okoyemi Akinyode. Yeah. The next tweet we have this morning, it says, this one don't sign pre-contract since 2023. Now release clause with a way to make them activate. All the statement is just to make excuses for his pending transfer move to APC after kissing the ring. The next tweet we have, still on the matter of the pressure to join the APC, Emmanuel Manven says, whether you believe this man or not, but as a Plateau man, I can say, even if you bring Alex Oti to contest under APC in Plateau State, he will fail. Go and do your research. That's what he has to say about this. What you are supposed to ask yourself is, will joining APC stop the massacre of your people? Of course not. Skeptic Ob says in regard to this. The national chairman of the APC and the APC Plateau State chapter has pushed Governor Caleb Mutfwang to the wall to reveal to the world that there is nothing like the governors are decamping to the APC because of the good work of Tinubu, but that the governors were pressured to join. Yahuza Hamza says. That's another valid angle. When you are not a boy, stop telling us stories. They look for assurance for second term. Sheyi Ajayi says, these are the tweets we have this morning regarding the governor of Plateau State saying that he's under pressure to join the APC. The more pressing matter is that his people are being killed in their numbers and that there's a security challenge upon his hands that needs to be fixed. We need to set aside governance. To Governor Caleb Mutfwang, to Governor Caleb Mutfwang, Governor Monday Okwero, Janet Tenebe, and all the people who are talking about politics and political parties. There is actual governance that needs to happen, and that should be the core of the conversation, not about your political party. Nobody really cares. Let's now share with you what our headlines are this morning on Breakfast Central. Top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. We are analyzing governance in Lagos State, speaking with former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Mrs. Kofoworola Bucknor. PDP postpones screening of aspirants ahead of National Convention, which is quite interesting. Experts hail Nigeria's grey list exit as win for transparency. Congratulations to us. House of Reps pledges to strengthen ties, Nigeria diaspora ties in particular. And we will be reviewing the newspaper front pages. Join us for all these and more. The People's Democratic Party is in the news again as tension seems to be escalating within its fold ahead of its 2025 National Convention. The party has abruptly suspended the screening of aspirants for its elective positions, citing logistical adjustments. But insiders say the real story is far more explosive. From legal threats by party elders to defection warnings from lawmakers, the PDP is facing a full-blown credibility crisis, and at the center of it all is a nomination battle that's raising eyebrows among party faithfuls. Joining us for today's discussion is a member of the People's Democratic Party, Mazi Dixon Iruebu. Good morning, Mazi Dixon Iruebu. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So, before I ask my first question, is the party convention still holding? Just to clarify. Because that was not the first question I had in mind.
15th to 16th.
It's still holding.
15th to 16th of November, our convention will hold, and nothing is stopping it.
You hope it will hold, or is certain that it will hold?
The convention of the People's Democratic Party will hold from the 15th to the 16th of November.
Right.
And I wonder what narrative the media wants us to give them. Are you expecting that PDP should not proceed with success, or you want to uphold this attempted one-party state that APC wants to force on the nation? I don't know what's going on.
It's not a narrative. We say this. It's not a narrative, and we ask this because of observations and things that we've seen. Mazi, many within the PDP will say what we're seeing now is not just logistical issues, but a deeper fracture in the party's soul, unresolved tensions dating back to 2022 primaries and leadership tussles. What have you? In your view, what are the structural and ideological fault lines that keep resurfacing in the PDP? It's almost like a demon that needs to be exorcised. Why has the party struggled to heal them?
Okay, the demon that will be exercised will be the doubts coming from the media. I think the media should also help to ensure that we help build democracy. Because PDP, when it came on board in 1999, held sway for that 10 years and handed over peacefully and democratically in 2015. Yes, the process that got us here is maybe the 2014 convention, where some party members, leaders, about 7 governors, 5 left and 2 came back and stayed to pull the party down from within. That is actually where the said demon that you're talking about came in, and we have moved on, attempted to rejuvenate the party. Of course, 2017, when we had our convention, the party, 2018 we had the convention. Before 2018, we recognized what challenge was at 2014 was the issue of zoning. In 2017, had zoned its ticket clearly to non-Nigeria. That is what informed in 2018 only northerners, no southerner purchased expression of interest and the nomination form for that quest in 2018. So we went in there and the party started coming back, and then of course derailed again in 2022, preceding 2023 election, because it ought to have zoned its ticket to the southern Nigeria time. But the party left it open, and that is what allowed the crack that we are now trying to, as much as possible, recover from. But the party has also corrected that mistake of 2022 by going ahead to zone its ticket to southern Nigeria against the 2027 election. So what we are doing now is the internal rearrangement that will ensure that we succeed with that move for 2027. The internal challenges and all of that, you see, it's exciting. It shows that PDP is still the best option, that PDP is not dead as some have claimed, or some had claimed, those who left the party believing that the party was dead and all of that are also making moves through the back door to come back. For instance, the likes of former governor of Jigawa State, who was seen hobnobbing with those who moved to ADC and all of that, who gave a condition that he would not attend any meeting of the party except the FCT minister is suspended or expelled.
Is that why they refused to sell the? Is that why they refused to sell to him the forms to, be a part to contest for national chairman of the party?
No. At the time, he now indicated interest to run. And listen, there are internal mechanisms adopted by the party. For instance, the Northern Caucus met and adopted a consensus candidate. But even that day that they announced the consensus candidate, it was declared that any person from the North who still wants to aspire for that position of chairman and that is welcome. Nobody indicated the interest until on Monday when Governor Sule, former Governor Sule, now showed up to want to purchase the form and all that, when the next day is supposed to be screening. So that day was the last day for submission of forms, not purchase of forms anymore. So I think the narrative needs to be corrected that nobody denied him his constitutional right to express his interest to vie for any position. Rather, there are rules that applies, and because that timing was wrong, that possibly informed why he didn't get it at that time. So, but for me, sincerely, this is just a storm in a cup, really.
So he's accused some unnamed party leaders who he says they have hijacked the process and that they are frustrating his attempt to join the race. He said that I think it was officially locked because of, he said he spoke to journalists and he said that after visiting the office of the National Organizing Secretary and the National Secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, that both of whom reportedly said they had no knowledge of the sales of nomination forms. He said, I went to the office of the National Organizing Secretary, which is normally where the forms are sold, and the office was locked. I think it was officially locked because of his position. So I met with him, the secretary of the party, Senator Anyanwu. Both of them said they had no idea where the forms are, not even how they were printed or the kind of forms they are. And then he said that the situation may be a deliberate attempt to exclude him from the contest. And he said that he's dead. He's said that he will go to court. What do you think the next steps will be for him and how this might impact the PDP?
The next step for him is left for him to decide. I was surprised that a leader like him, who should know better where to go to look for what he's looking for. Not the places he went to was the wrong place, because a committee was set up at the neck. And at the time that committee was set up to organize the national convention, the NWC has no role to play in that direction. And it's clear, it's not in any way anything wrong. It was very clear. The people are given the mandate to organize the convention is the National Organizing Committee and not the NWC. So the former governors, Nnamdi, have gone to Legacy House and not White House. So you now wonder, what does he want to achieve, really, if not probably to continue the direction that they have taken, either after enjoying all of what they have enjoyed from the PDP, they want to pull the roof down. But the ship has sailed already. The train to Ibadan has taken off. Anybody who is not on board, I'm saying, should wait after the convention. Really, the offices he went to, they told him rightly what it is. They don't know what the color of the form is, how many was printed, because it's not their duty to know. If he wanted to get the form, he should have gone to the Legacy House and not White House.
Now, Mazi, with everything that is happening, what's behind the sudden halt in the screening of aspirants for those seeking elected positions ahead of PDP's Ibadan convention?
Yeah, well, the reason has been given. There are internal issues needed to be addressed, or whatever was not in place for them and all of that. And it is not anything that anybody should worry about. All committees, subcommittees have been inaugurated for this convention. And I wonder why we always speak on, things that are not necessarily an issue.
No,
yes,
it's a big...
A committee that was set up for screening, they can shift it forward. What's wrong with that? It doesn't call for any alarm, really. There's no cause for whatsoever. The screening committee will announce a new date, as they already stated, and those who have expressed their interest will go for the screening.
What is the unforeseen circumstances? They said it's been the screening earlier scheduled to hold for Tuesday, October 28th, has been shifted due to unforeseen circumstances. Can you give us an idea what these unforeseen circumstances are? I know you said that there's some internal issues within the party. What exactly is going on? If you can point us, of course we want it to happen, and we want the PDP to be ready for its convention.
The last time I checked, you're not a member of the PDP, and this internal whatever that have, it is for us to address. It's not for come to the public domain and be discussing it. So we have come to understand that there are those who are in various platforms by the ruling party to destabilize the People Democratic Party. But internally also, we have devised ways of keeping closely our plans so that we don't give the enemy access to our plans,
Okay, I want to still talk about
that you are not a member of the party, and that I am not also given the authority by the committee to speak on their behalf.
Okay.
I'm just an ordinary member of the PDP.
Some information has, come to the media, and part of it is that the party's internal crisis was further compounded, or has been compounded, by the threat of over 20 federal lawmakers elected on the platform of PDP to defect from the party over an alleged plot by the leadership to clear a nominee of an All Progressives Congress governor for the position of National Woman Leader. I don't know if you can help shed some light on that, on the truth or otherwise of that.
Well, that is a story we read in the media from the Honorable representing Idato North and South, that is Honorable Ikenga Ugochinyere, and his team. He's from my state, Imo State. Yes, the name mentioned, the now APC governor, who was the governor that he himself hobnobbed with during the crisis of the national secretary. That is the governor of Edo State, who was directly involved in the crisis of that office, the office of the national secretary, after attempting to destabilize the party from that end, because we knew, that he was indeed working for the APC. He had made moves, to move to APC a long time ago. And Honorable Ikenga Ugochinyere was with him in that fight. So I am surprised now that someone like him is crying foul. He said he has also concluded his own plan to move to the APC, like so many of them. So, but the issue is that there is a need for the Southeast part of the PDP to be reconstituted, that we don't have a governor in the Southeast. So the call of the National Secretary, that is Senator Manyaru, to ensure that the Southeast Congress and all of that, and the interest of the Southeast is well captured. I recognize it and I appreciate it. I support it. There's a need for us to rejig it. Personally, for instance, I have an interest to run also in the offices that may be zoned to my own zone, that is the Southeast. But at the moment, because at the time that decision was taken, we had a governor who was the leader of the party in the zone. Now that we don't have it, I believe that the party leadership would do the right thing and ensure, possibly this may be the reason why the screening committee shifted forward, because there's a need to address that concern. of the Southeast.
Now, Mazi, I'm glad you mentioned the issue of governors, and we've seen a wave of defections. PDP states that have been traditional PDP states since 1999 have seen their governors defect to the ruling APC for one reason or the other. And there's also some defections that are waiting to happen. Just earlier this morning, we discussed on this show the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutuang, saying he's under pressure to the camp, to the APC. And we also know the situation with Governor Diri in Bayelsa State. How troubling is this? Are these waves of defections, especially of senior party members like governors in the PDP to the APC? What effect does he have on the People's Democratic Party?
It is the People's Democratic Party, not Governor's Democratic Party, not Senators Democratic Party, not House of Representatives Democratic Party. It is the people. Like the governor of your state, right stated, until hunger defects, until poverty that is ravaging the nation defects, until security defects to the ruling party, then we're worried. But anybody who is moving to join the ruling party, what I have asked, particularly myself from the Southeast, what I have asked the only governor from the South that moved to APC is, what is it that, you say APC has been to Southeasterners that would make you want to move to APC? Is it security? Is it that life has improved in the Southeastern Nigeria? Is it justice, equity, and fairness? Is it that marginalization of the Southeastern Nigeria has stopped? No, it is selfish. It is their personal interest, that is simply making them move. You mentioned the governor of Plateau. I listened to him. He didn't infer that he's moved. He stated clearly that yes, there is pressure, there is coercion, there's every move, intimidation and all that, even inducement, by the Union Party to bring these governors to the belief that is going to help them. But unfortunately, because they have nothing to prove, that is why they are now looking at how to ensure that they prepare the grounds for anticipated ruling of the election in 2027. Let me put on record the ruling party, the real party, that 2027 is going to be Nigerian people against the AC, because we are the ones directly affected. The governor of Plateau State only stated clearly that the only person, he said there are two people who can make him move to the APC. He said only God Almighty and then the people who elected him. He stated it clearly. He, of course, expressed that there are pressure and all of that. There is pressure to come over to APC and all that. But that he has given himself two reasons why he would move. God Almighty and possibly the people who elected. And he asked the people there and then in that hall. He said, do you people want me to move to APC? And they said no. And he closed that chapter. Those who want to move, even himself, if he wants to move, for us in the PDP, we are focused, first of all, to put our house together and ensure that we have our convention well organized in November, and thereafter we will now commence the process of reclaiming our nation from these people who have ruined our land, because the elites seem to be assembling against the Nigerian people. And that's why I said the election is going to be Nigerian people against the APC.
All right, Mazi Dixon Iregbu, it's been an interesting conversation we've had so far. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're counting down the days to the PDP convention and hoping that whatever it is that's happening behind the scenes, the internal wrangling of the party is sorted out so that we can see the PDP as a formidable opposition come 2027.
And you have our best wishes. We want democracy to thrive in our country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now moving to our next story. In Lagos here, heartbreak and helplessness trailed the collapse of a two-story building on Quarter Street in Ebute Metta. As rescue efforts continue, some families cling to hope while others are consumed by grief. News Central's Igbalani Omoni reports.
Tola fainted shortly after hearing that members of his family were trapped beneath the rubble. It was early Monday when the building, housing about 18 flats, residents and businesses gave way. Off camera, residents confirmed the structure had been marked for evacuation, already declared distressed by Lagos authorities, but no one saw this morning coming.
In my portion where we are digging, we removed 9 people outside, 1 people dead. We rent equipment outside with our home money, which nobody give us any money to rescue them. What did you rent? We rent hammer, chisel, a lot of instruments to rescue them. There's an old woman inside here now. We haven't rescued the old woman. The old woman, around 2:30, the old woman was pushing a light to us that he was still alive, but when it was 2:45, the woman does not respond.
If I guess, we will have up to 18 flats, which I think is too much for such an approved building.
While rescue workers dig, some residents rummage through the debris, trying to salvage what is left of their belongings. Others sit quietly, waiting for news, waiting for a miracle.
We got here 11:20 a.m. We met a woman with a child, already rescued, and 3 other people. So during the during the rescue operation, we were able to retrieve 21 patients alive, and they have been taken to our various public hospitals in Lagos State.
However, 5 were treated on the ground and discharged by our ambulance team. And you can see that the operation is still ongoing. We are able to recover 1 body, and the body has been deposited at the mortuary. And we are moving from one layer to another. Believe me, we are going to ground zero steadily.
We will try as much as possible to give relief and succor to those who are affected. You can be sure of that.
Moments later, a heavy silence. The digging stops. A second body is pulled from the wreckage, believed to be that of an elderly woman who was visiting. The death toll now stands at 2. Surrounding buildings have since been sealed off as emergency teams walk round the clock. For families like Tola's, hope fades with every passing hour. But they wait, because sometimes that is all there is. For now, officials have yet to confirm how many remain trapped. In Lagos 4 News Central, Igbalani Omoni.
Lagos is Nigeria's economic heartbeat, yet there have been persistent concerns about civic trust, legislative independence, and electoral integrity, which have raised questions about the state of governance in the state. We shall be putting the state under the microscope with conversations centered on its institution, as well as the urgent questions about accountability that Lagosians deserve answers for. Join us this morning for this discussion is one woman that has been at the corridors of power in the state, talking about none other than the former deputy governor of Lagos State, who was also a former senator in the state and now a critic of the current trends in the state's politics. We have this morning the pleasure of speaking to Senator Kofoworola, Bucknor-Akerele. Good morning to you, Senator Bucknor-Akerele. Thanks for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here.
We're glad to have you. Senator, you've had a front row sit to Lagos politics, both as a senator and deputy governor. Could you give us your general overview of the state of governance in Lagos State as we speak so far?
Well, I wouldn't know what you would say about the overview, but I think that as far as we Lagosians are concerned, we are not happy about the state of governance in Lagos State at the moment.
And is there any reasons, what are your concerns? What is it about the state of governance that worries you?
Well, I think what worries most people is that things have deteriorated in Lagos. The whole atmosphere in Lagos, it has deteriorated completely. And let's face it, if you look at Lagos, Lagos is a mess. There's rubbish everywhere. The roads are bad. Even in places like Victoria Island and Ikoyi, you see roads which you would not expect to see in the capital city of Lagos State.
Okay. Let's now start to narrow it to some of the...
You go to hospitals, the hospitals are in a terrible state. So, as we Lagosians are concerned, we want a change in Lagos State. We want to see better governance in Lagos State, because what is going on now is not governance. It is the dictatorship of one man who picks people as he pleases, and most of those people are not competent to be holding the positions they're holding at the moment.
Just so we clarify, who's the one man you speak about, ma'am?
Well, we know the one man that has been dominating Lagos State, and that is Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is at the moment our president.
Now, madam, in your view, if you say the Lagos State, governorship in Lagos State and the governance in Lagos State has been disappointed in the last few years, so what institutional weaknesses do you think have allowed the state's executive to dominate governance for so long? I mean, since 1999. And do those flaws still define the state, the balance of power in Lagos State today? Because if they're doing a bad job, I don't think the people will keep re-electing them. I mean, that's the logical conclusion.
Well, are you sure the people are actually electing them? Because as far as I know, the people are not electing them. These people are being imposed by all sorts of means. The last election, we saw people burning ballot boxes, snatching ballot boxes, doing all sorts of unconscionable things. And so are you saying that the votes of those people in those ballot boxes counted? I don't think so.
All right, let's start.
There are places where people were not allowed to vote. There are places where people were being told they cannot vote because they simply look like Igbos. So if you're a Yoruba man and somebody thinks you look like an Igbo man, therefore you cannot vote. So, I mean, the whole thing is in a shambles. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's now start to narrow the conversation to some of the challenges that we've seen in Lagos State. Let's talk about even more recently, the demolitions in Ojulari, Oworoshoki. Residents have decried not just the demolition itself, but the manner in which the demolition has been carried out. They have said that there was a court injunction that should have restrained this demolition from being carried out, but against this court judgment, the demolition was carried out. These are some of the claims that the residents are making, and they are rejecting compensation, saying that at best it's very selective and they do not want that. What are your thoughts about the demolition in Oworoshoki, and how could this have been handled better?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure whether there were proper notices served on the owners of those properties in the Oworoshoki. And if it was done then I do not believe that demolition should take place with people still inside their homes, or that it should take place at night. I think there are more humane ways of doing things like that. You should have allowed people to remove their belongings. That is, if proper notices were served. But if, as you say, there was an injunction, it just shows the kind of lawlessness that the country is sinking into right now.
Now, people watching this program this morning will say, look, we're a democracy, and it's a game of numbers. And, you know, we should inspire hope and hope that our contribution at the polls should be able to, you know, make a difference, if not change, but hold those leaders to accountable. And that brings me to my question. Critics say that decades of a one-party dominance have weakened the independence of the Lagos State Assembly, which you're very familiar with, and entrench a culture of political patronage, which you spoke about. You also mentioned the one man that seems to be dominating politics in Lagos State, who you happen to serve with as Deputy Governor. From your insider perspective, madam, what reforms could reduce this concentration of power, and are any of them politically feasible under this current structure, or we just have to go to the polls and hope for the best?
Well, I think what we should do now is to educate the population that they should not stand for this kind of dictatorship that is going on in Lagos State. You know, people must be educated to know that they must fight for their rights. I don't mean fight by taking up arms or anything like that, but they must insist on their rights. It has been done in other countries. It has been done in other countries. You go out and you demonstrate and you ask for your rights. And if people are not educated enough to know that they must actually ask for their rights, then I'm sorry, we're going to sink further and further into the abyss.
You spoke about in other climes where people would typically go out to demonstrate for their rights. Here in Nigeria, it seems that demonstrations and protests, which are rights that are constitutionally guaranteed to citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, many would argue that these are being limited. We saw after the NSAS protest, what happened with End Bad Governance protests. Quite recently, we had Free Nnamdi Kanu protests, and they went to court. Allegedly, you know, there were some trespassing that happened because there were restrictions by the court. What would you say is the state of protesting in Nigeria? You can bring that back to Lagos as well. And, you know, how our government has handled it, and what really is the future for Nigerians who decide they want differently and want to be able to head to the streets and exercise their rights to peacefully protest against the government.
Well, I think what is happening in Nigeria now is what I would say is quite unconscionable, that peaceful demonstrators are being put down with violence. We have to go back to the drawing board. And I think also what is happening now is that we must have a review of our Constitution. If we do not abrogate this present Constitution that puts so much power at the center, we are not going to move forward. People are not going to be able to exercise their rights. We need to review the Constitution so that power goes back to the people and not to just one man on top.
Are you for reviewing the Constitution or a total scrapping of what currently exists and then presenting something new? Because there are those who push for that, saying that the Constitution we have currently has relics of a military dictatorship, it would seem, and that what we need to do is to come together as a people and and put together something new, representative of what our current realities are. So do you think that we should scrap it and start again, or review what currently exists?
I don't think we can use what currently exists. I think we should scrap it. Not only that, there was a conference in 2014, and there were various recommendations made. And all those recommendations, because I was part of that conference, it was all by consensus. I think those decisions should be brought out, dusted up, and the country should try and form a constitution based on those decisions which were taken at that conference.
Now, Madam, you are a Lagosian through and through. I'm sure you're very worried about this menace of area boys in Lagos. Lagos state was once defined by the spirit of the Omoyele ethos, respect, integrity, and community responsibility. But today, many of those values have been eroded and replaced by a culture of aggression and impunity embodied by the dominance of area boys. Some have said, you know, they're used as political tools to snag ballot boxes or do the bidding of politicians. How did Lagos drift from a moral compass to a system where street power seems to trump civic values, and what sort of reforms would you recommend to fix this problems of area boys in the state?
Well, as you rightly said, the area boys are being encouraged by the powers that be. So it is very difficult unless we change our situation, unless we change our political system. We'll always have these area boys who are mainly thugs, really. They're nothing else but thugs who are being used to intimidate people, who are being used to snatch people's phones and perpetrate all sorts of criminal activities. This is because of the sort of government that we have, because this government encourages these area boys. In fact, some of these area boys are in the pay of government. So you see that we have deteriorated in Lagos, as you say, from the Omoyele culture to a system of grab, snatch, and run away with it.
Okay, ma'am. So now let's I think the question is, how do you see that this can be dealt with? How can we get rid of this challenge? Because there have been people who would complain about when the situations where their car would break down. Typically, the Nigerian spirit is when your car breaks down, you get help. People rally to help you, but that's not the reality of a number of people who have complained about being accosted, attacked, and being robbed in the process of their cars having broken down. I personally have encountered a situation where I had a flat tire at 5 a.m. coming to work, and unfortunately what happened was the area boys gathered, and after a while they were asking me to pay for money before my tires can be changed. My colleague was there as well. So the question is, who do we hold to account? And how do we get rid of this menace?
We have to hold the government to account. You see, most of these people are jobless people. They don't have any means of livelihood, and this is why, in order to make ends meet, to actually get their daily bread, they have become menace to the ordinary people. I believe what we should do is we should stop discouraging businesses from running away from Lagos. There are too many taxes. Half the businesses in Lagos are now in Ogun State. If you go and drive through Oshodi and places like that, which used to be places where factories were running, all the factories have closed down. Most of them now have turned into churches or warehouses, but the real businesses where people were employed have gone. And this is because of the harassment, not only of area boys, but of the government itself, because there are too many taxes. You're taxed virtually for everything in this state. And so business owners are running away to a more conducive place where life is more conducive to running businesses, and therefore they are then able to provide means of employment for all these people. Those people who are now area boys could be gainfully employed if there were factories for them to work in.
Now, Senator,
In the days when we had factories running, you didn't have all these area boys around.
Now, Senator, the current administration in Lagos State, you did mention taxes. We disagree with some of the things you've said, because they would say that, those taxes have been put to good use. Lagos State, as we currently speak, is the state with the highest IGR in the entire federation. They will also point to projects like the blue rail and the red rail transit systems that we have, and also the recent hosting of E1 events where Lagos State brought the world together, and the 5 Cowrie Creek to host a world-class event and say, look, they're doing their best to modernize the city and make it a mega city. How would you respond to that?
There are all sorts of things like that which are being done for show. I mean, when you talk about the rail was conceived in the era of Alhaji Lateef Jakande. That was when the rail was conceived. It's not that this present government has conceived it. All right, they are bringing it to fruition. But when you look at it, is the government really providing services for the people? How many houses have running water? How many places are the dustbins emptied on a regular basis? You go to hospitals and you find, I mean, for instance, General Hospital in Lagos, I understand, doesn't even have an intensive care unit. So if you have all these things for show, but you're not having things which are actually benefiting the ordinary people, then I'm sorry, you are not providing governance or good governance for the people. People want running water. They want good hospitals. They want good road. They want to be able to send their children to schools, good schools. Schools that are meant to be free, people are being levied instead of being able to enter the school freely. So these are the things that are wrong.
Okay, let's now look at some of what this administration will put forward as some of the gains of Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Recently, they launched the Omi-Eko project, which is meant to revolutionize the way the transportation happens here in Lagos and moving the way people move freely, especially on the waterways. Is backed by the Global Gateway Initiative, and it's financed by the French Development Agency, AFD, the European Union, and the European Investment Bank. It is a 410 million euro initiative, and this is, of course, going to reduce traffic congestion. Are you excited about this project, ma'am?
Well, I think this is a project that should have been done ages ago. Lagos is surrounded by water. Most countries where you have water in abundance, like Lagos, have proper ferry systems which run on the water to reduce the traffic. So I don't think this is something fantastic. I think this is something that was long overdue.
Ma'am, what would you say if people were to push back and say that it's better late than never? Because if it's something that should have been done long ago, there have been governors before Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. You were in governorship as well. You were the deputy governor. Was it a consideration or a conversation that came up when you were deputy governor of Lagos State?
This has always been a conversation, even as far back as the time of Alhaji Lateef Jakonde. In fact, I remember there was a ferry running at that time, because I think I used a ferry at one time. I used a ferry going to Badagry at that time. So it's not anything new. It's just that it is now being resuscitated.
Now, I want to take you back a bit to a statement you made earlier with regards to the state of elections in Lagos State. You did mention that some people from the southeast, eastern extraction were prevented from voting, and there was quite a lot of discrimination. And we've recently heard people speak about perceived marginalization of Igbos in Lagos. We've seen some demolitions happen in places where a lot of Igbos domicile their businesses or residents with the excuse of, trampling on waterways or some environmental infractions. Do you think there's a deliberate policy, I mean, it might not be official, to marginalize or stifle the voices of Igbos in Lagos? Because traditionally, Lagos has always been a melting pot for all Nigerians from all parts of the country. Why do we seem to see a rise, especially in the type of language and the behavior of the government? It seems to be, marginalizing Igbos in Lagos.
I don't think that it is the policy of the government, in fairness, to marginalize the Igbos or to specially target the Igbos. I know that during the last election, there was a move to specifically target the Igbos. But I do not think that right now, with the demolitions going on, that it is a target for the Igbos. The Wurunchoki demolitions, for instance, most of those houses were owned by Yoruba people. In fact, I know somebody in my own local government whose house was demolished there. So I don't believe that it is specifically targeted to Igbos, but I believe that the problem really is the method of governance. Where was the government when those houses were being erected? You see, you don't wait until somebody has built a house on a waterway or under electric lines before you come and demolish. I mean, where were the people who are supposed to take care of these things? I mean, you would have been there when the foundations were being dug, and it is at that stage that you should have stopped. You don't wait for people to put up an edifice and then come and demolish it. I think there's something lacking in the way the government is running itself.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the state of the nation. We've spoken about Lagos State, and now we're going to expand the conversation even wider. We're joined by the former Deputy Governor of Lagos State and the former Senator Kofoworola Bucknor-Akerele. Thank you very much for staying with us, ma'am. INEC has been a core of the conversation. You were particularly not in support of the elections that happened earlier this year, the local government elections in Lagos State, you said they were marred with irregularities and called for them to be scrapped. Now we have a new INEC chairman, Mr. Joash Amupiton. What's your expectation? Are you expectant that elections will take a different turn under the new dispensation of this new INEC chairman?
Well, I think we're all hopeful that the new INEC chairman will in fact set a different, how would I say, he should in fact let us have an INEC that is credible. Because right now, I think most people have lost faith in INEC. People have lost faith in fair elections. People believe that INEC is compromised. And I believe that he has a task to reform INEC. Throw out the bad eggs, because there are a lot of bad eggs in INEC who take bribes, alter figures, and we're all hopeful that he will be able to give us the sort of INEC that this country deserves.
Now, moving from INEC to the state of politics in the country, we do have to remember that we're still in the calendar year 2025, but we've seen a lot of heightened political activities. We've seen billboards, we've seen endorsements, we've seen campaigns. One would even be mistaken to think that next year is 2027 with regards to the general elections. What do you make of this heightened political mood in the country, and also the wave of defections? We've seen lots of governors, PDP states, traditional PDP states, decamp to the ruling APC, saying they want to align with the center and gain more benefit for their people by decamping. What's your take on the state of politics in Nigeria with regards to these things I mentioned, Senator?
Well, I think the state of politics in Nigeria at the moment leaves much to be desired. People decamping, but then I think it was Omoyele who said that once you come into APC, your sins are forgiven you. So maybe those people who are decamping have sins that they want to be forgiven. Otherwise, I don't know what they're doing, because I look at it as a case of out of the frying pan into the fire. What
about the issue of the seriousness or the earliness of campaigns? People discussing 2027 and 2025. One would think the elections a few months' time. Does it mean we're more politically savvy, educated, and aware, or is it an anomaly?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an anomaly, but I believe that it is in fact the political trend at the moment, that people are more concerned with politics than with governance. They're more concerned with the next election than, in fact, delivering the dividends of democracy to the people. I think that is really the malady that has hit the nation at the moment.
All right, and now talking about the fear of Nigeria slipping into a one-party state with all the defections happening and people moving to the APC, even being threatened that if they don't wear the Asiwaju cap, they would be suspended. That's, of course, referring to what's happening in Edo State with Jared Etenebe and Governor Monday Okpebholo. Is the PDP able to provide a formidable opposition by the next election?
Or any of the opposition parties? Yeah.
Well, I think the PDP is. Well, I think PDP is still the main opposition party at the moment. PDP, I think, is the only party that I know that, in fact, has structures in every nook and corner of Nigeria. And therefore, up till now, it is still the main opposition party.
But it would seem like from what those on the outside are saying, the PDP hasn't had its house in order in the longest time. The most recent announcement is the suspension of the screening exercise 1 month, exactly 1 month to the convention, and people don't know why. It seems like there's been a lot of internal squabbles happening within the party, and the ADC seems to, the ADC seems to have its house being put together. Everyone seems to, well, lots of people seem to be throwing their support behind the ADC. Don't you think that the ADC also is, in this case, a viable opposition?
Well, I would not say the AGC is not a viable opposition. But I believe that the ADC, you have too many contending tendencies in the ADC. And I think that is going to be the problem in the ADC. As for the PDP, I think PDP has put its house in order. I'm sorry to say so. I think a lot of the press seems to be partial. And they seem to want to see the fall of the PDP. And I do not believe that that is going to happen. PDP is a very, very strong party. And you will see that in the next election, you will have surprises.
All right. My final question, we need to get your thoughts on the current situation regarding how the government, the courts, and Nnamdi Kanu have played out, especially in this case regarding Nnamdi Kanu. We've seen the protests that have happened for Nnamdi Kanu that led to the arrest of Omoyele Sowore and a number of people. He's rejected defense, and he said that the state of the Nigerian government cannot try him because they have flouted their own, they flouted the treaty that they're signatory to. What are your thoughts on how Nnamdi Kanu's case has been handled so far?
Well, first of all, Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped and brought forcefully into Nigeria to face trial. As the matter is in court, I would not want to comment on the case of Nnamdi Kanu at the moment.
All right. Senator Kofoworola, Bucknor-Akerele, thank you very much for your time with us this morning and speaking to us on the state of the nation, looking at Nigeria as a whole and even bringing it down to Lagos State. We look forward to speaking with you again, ma'am. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now we still looking at the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Our correspondent, Joshua Imari, who has been closely monitoring the updates in this regard, will be bringing us some of the updates. He's in Abuja. Let's connect with Joshua to hear what exactly the update is. Good morning, Joshua. We see you on the road. Where are you and what is the latest regarding Nnamdi Kanu's case?
And I am currently at the airport, so the connection with the airport here in Abuja, and this road leads directly to the city center. As you can see, most of the residents are trying to make their way to their different workplaces, and everything is going on smoothly. Passengers are boarding vehicles, mostly private vehicles. There seems to be a little amount of government-owned vehicles. When I mean government-owned vehicles, I mean mass transit for residents in this area. But moving on to the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the court was thrown into surprise and awe yesterday as Nnamdi Kanu, who was present to defend himself, turned to the judge and raised his hands like that of a father and said to the court, "My Lord, help me thank God, because I have looked at the case leveled against me by the federal government. I have studied it, and I can tell you that there is no valid case against me. Help me thank God, my Lord." And he also told the judge that, looking at the fact that, based on what he says, that there is no solid case against him, he told the court to read immediately, or perhaps granting bail on false ground. Kanu was trying to go on and on and on until the judge stopped him and said that, listen, defendant, it is too late to take this stand. Whether you like it or not, the prosecution has entered and closed his defense. And there is only one way out, and that is that you submit a case, a motion of no case submission. And that motion has been denied. It is actually better for you to open your defense because it might be dangerous, according to law, for you to rely on the case of the prosecution. Now, Kanu coming to say that the judge should help him thank God that he has settled the case and there is no strong case or valid case against him means that maybe he has forgone the earlier idea of calling witnesses to testify in court during his own defense. We don't know if Kanu has reserved those facts and later. But what we are seeing is that Kanu is telling the court that the judge should help him thank God that he has settled the case and there is no valid case against him.
So, do we expect, what's the next step with the courts now?
Well, after the back and forth yesterday, Justice James Omotosho told Kanu that he's going to give him 7 days to prepare. Maybe either to file a written address on the fact that he has no case to answer, or perhaps he should consult a lawyer, a seasoned criminal lawyer, for the next 7 days to be able to help him open his defense. Or maybe he's sticking with his earlier argument that he has stopped the case and there is no valid case against him. He should submit a written address to that effect. Then the court will maybe look at it and maybe pick a date for judgment and the likes. So the court, however, adjourned to November the 4th, 5th, and 6th for the continuation of trial.
All right, November 4th, 5th, and 6th. Hold on, Joshua. We need to go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll get the updates regarding Omoyele Sowore, Aloy Ejimako, and Nnamdi Kanu's brother who were arrested and detained, and what the latest is in that regard. Let's be right back after this break. Welcome back. We still have our correspondent Joshua Imarayi, who's bringing us the latest regarding Nnamdi Kanu's case, and the next court date being November 4th, 5th, and 6th. I got that correctly, Joshua, right? Okay. What is the latest regarding Omoyele Sowore as well as Aloy Ejimako? Do you have any information on Aloy Ejimako as well as Nnamdi Kanu's brother who were arrested and detained by the police? We hear that Omoyele Sowore has been set free or has been let go.
Of course. The last thing we got was that Aloy Ejimako, Omoyele Sowore, as well as some of those people who suggested under the banner of Nnamdi Kanu now, have been released from the correctional facility here in today. Of course, they're taking their plea and arraignment has happened. And maybe in the coming days, they are expected to commence the trial in full scale to see if there is any substance of the allegation leveled against them by the Nigerian police force. But the Nigerian police force is still insistent that this set of persons just wanted to commit mayhem. They were saying that they went against the court order, which barred them from protesting in certain parts of the capital city here in Abuja, and that the whole protest was there to prevent trouble. And for a fact that the case is before a law court, the Federal High Court in Abuja, that there was no need for such protest. So that is the fact of the police and the rights of Omoyele Sowore and those who are still hell-bent on going on this protest are saying that no, we want Nnamdi Kanu released, and we want him released as soon as possible. They are even citing some previous court judgments right from the Court of Appeal. And most of the argument is that that particular judgment by the Court of Appeal has been quashed by the Supreme Court. Hence, it is no longer binding according to law. And the court is liquidating when Nnamdi Kanu tried to raise that particular judgment of the Court of Appeal, because most of the arguments Nnamdi Kanu has been raising are arguments on point of law, particularly for the court's jurisdiction to try him, or perhaps the Court of Appeal judgment. But the court is telling him that, look, defendants, the only way you can be set free from this court is when you open your defense, close your defense. Because when you submitted the case, a motion of no case submission, the court ruled out on it, and they are saying, the court is saying, the court is saying that you have to open your defense to be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Because if you don't open your defense, you are relying on the argument of the prosecution, and it is quite dangerous for a defendant to rely on the argument of the prosecution Please, Prophet. Olive.
All right. Thank you very much, Joshua Imai, for bringing us the updates in this story. And we look forward to speaking with you when we have further information. We're counting down the days to November 4th, 5th, and 6th. And to see what the next moves by Nnamdi Kanu are. Thank you for your time with us this morning.
Thank you, Joshua. Now, the House of Representatives has affirmed its commitment to deepening engagement with Nigerians in the diaspora, describing them as vital partners in national development. This is as the House hosted a stakeholders engagement in diaspora governance, where lawmakers and the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission unveiled a new digital platform to strengthen connectivity and service delivery. News Central correspondent Idol Joseph reports.
The engagement, convened by the House of Representatives Committee on Diaspora, focuses on how to streamline government actions on diaspora issues and strengthen policy alignment between federal and state institutions.
We are here today with two main goals in mind. First, Nigerian stakeholders' engagement on diaspora governance, NICDEC 2025. The initiative is all about bringing together policies, institutions, and technology to create a unified approach to diaspora governance.
With an estimation of about 17 million Nigerians in the diaspora making significant contributions to the nation's economy, stakeholders believe that their influence should move beyond remittances to holistic national growth and inclusion in governance.
We talk about remittances all the time, $21 billion and all that. But we have to ensure that the diaspora goes beyond just remittances, but our holistic catalyst, a catalyst for holistic growth of our dear nation, Nigeria. So as we have these conversations, how do we deepen governance of the diaspora?
While the meeting brought together lawmakers and members of the executive to deepen conversations on diaspora engagement, the Speaker of the House revealed that the Parliament is working with relevant agencies to ease documentation and strengthen diplomatic protection for Nigerians abroad. He assured that diaspora engagement remains a national priority under the 10th Assembly's legislative agenda.
The House seeks to remove bureaucratic bottlenecks that often frustrate Nigerians abroad, replacing them with systems that reflect transparency, efficiency, and responsiveness in line with modern public service standards. The House continues to collaborate with the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, to safeguard the welfare of citizens abroad and ensure that their concerns receive timely and effective attention.
The highlight of the engagement was the launch of the new Diaspora Resource Platform that will make it easier for citizens abroad to reach government agencies and access consular assistance, including verified investment opportunities. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
In a major boost for Nigeria's global financial reputation, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has welcomed the country's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list, a move the president describes as a strategic victory for the Nigerian economy. The announcement came in from Paris, France, at the FATF plenary, officially removing Nigeria from the list of jurisdictions under increased monitoring, also known as the grey list. News Central correspondent Bektina Emily reports.
The Financial Action Task Force, the world's leading body for setting standards against money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing, had in February 2023 placed Nigeria on the grey list, a decision that called for deeper transparency, accountability, and stronger enforcement in the nation's financial system.
The Financial Action Task Force is a global watchdog that looks into matters of money laundering, terrorism financing, and even small arms proliferation. So the default is you are in the blacklist. And when a country agrees to measures to mitigate their shortfalls, then they can be on the grey list. There are 40 items in that framework Nigeria has about 19 that we had to comply with.
Experts say that Nigeria's delisting from the grey list carries significant benefits such as improved access to global financial markets, as well as strengthening the Naira's credibility.
It gives us a very, very big credibility. It lowers the cost of transaction, as I have mentioned earlier. It lowers cost of transaction because we don't need to go through so much scrutiny before we can access finance or do business across borders. Then it also has this it makes it easier for investors and other banks outside the countries to engage with Nigeria.
When you have come off the grey list, you have more investor confidence in the economy. They think that things can be a bit more transparent.
President Tinubu says Nigeria's removal marks the beginning of a new chapter in the nation's financial reform agenda. He says that it will sustain transparency, deepen institutional collaboration, and rebuild global trust in Nigeria's economy. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
News coming for Nigeria. We've been removed from the blacklist. And what that does is it restores investor confidence in markets, also the economy. So kudos to everyone that was involved in getting us off that blacklist. We hope we maintain it
and get better. We never get back
and
there.
Don't regress. And also, talking about good news, I have some good news to share here.
Please share.
Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, just released a tweet saying that they have set a new record with 47.39 trillion naira in tax collection between October 2023 and September 2025. That's humongous. I'll take that again. In 2 years, 47.39 trillion naira. But I mean, Olive, the question people will be asking is, okay,
evidence.
No, not even evidence. How many water pipes have been laid? How many water reservoirs have been built? How many megawatts of electricity have been added? How many new hospitals have been built?
That's the evidence I'm talking about.
Yes, exactly.
Now, they want to see the evidence of
it's one thing to generate money. It's another thing to show work. It's like you said. What are you using it for? What benefit is it to the average Nigerian?
And not to excuse that, not to excuse lack of payment of taxes by what the government does, but it's a lot easier. You do less convincing when people can see that their money is being put to good use. They can see their money working. It's less work and less hassle when you know that your transportation sector is working well, your health sector, education sector. So you are paying, and what you're paying for is funding and improved quality of life. So it will be less evangelism they would have to do once they start to get to work.
Absolutely. And also some piece of good news. I don't know if this is general good news or it's good news to Professor Amopitan. But the INEC chairman was honored for dedication at a law teachers conference, and he was given an award, a plaque for his dedication, hard work, and aspiration. And many are
the
wondering,
quality of INEC chairman, how many seconds of being INEC chairman?
Many are saying that he hasn't even properly sat on his chair, and they're already giving him awards. That why didn't they give him this award in his last job?
They started again. We need to calm down. We need to calm down.
We don't need distractions.
Okay. Yeah. We need to calm down. Okay, let's move to another conversation. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, has met with European Union parliamentarians to strengthen ties, particularly aimed at fostering economic growth and development. This was during the recent dialogue in Abuja as both officials reaffirmed their commitment to regional peace, economic growth, and cooperation between the European Union and Nigeria. They also expressed readiness to build on existing cooperation in trade, governance, and regional sustainability.
Relationship between ECOWAS and the EU is one that is very important to security, to our economy, to development as a whole. And it's for this reason that Nigeria became the 77th shareholder of the European Bank for Reconstruction and development quite.
Nigeria is, for us, a strategic partner, as you know. The European Union and Nigeria maintain a long-standing partnership built on political dialogue, shared values and regional cooperation. And not only is your country considered a strategic partner for the EU, but because you are Africa's most populous nation, you are also a major regional political and economic power in West Africa. Understand also this visit as a will that, or a show of will that we in the European Parliament know that Nigeria is such an important player in Africa, and that we are very interested in further deepening the close cooperation we already have.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. We begin with national security matters as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has held a closed-door meeting with the newly appointed service chiefs at the presidential villa in Abuja. Sources familiar with the meeting says discussions focus on strengthening Nigeria's security architecture and improving interagency coordination within the armed forces. This marks President Bola Tinubu's first official engagement with the new military leadership since their appointment. Details of the meeting have not yet been made public, but expectations are high for renewed momentum in tackling the nation's security challenges. We now move to electoral matters, where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended the ongoing collection of permanent voters' cards in Anambra State. According to the electoral body, the decision follows appeals from citizens and stakeholders requesting more time for eligible voters to collect their cards ahead of the November 8, 2025 governorship elections. In a statement released by the Director of Voter Education and Publicity, Victoria Etamesi, INEC announced that the exercise earlier scheduled to end on Sunday, October the 26th, will now continue from Wednesday, October the 29th to Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. The Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, has met with European Union parliamentarians to strengthen ties, particularly aimed at fostering economic growth and development. This was during a recent dialogue in Abuja as both officials reaffirmed their commitment to regional peace, economic growth and cooperation with twin the European Union and Nigeria. They also, expressed readiness to build on existing cooperation in trade governance and regional stability.
ECOWAS and the EU is one that is very important to security, to our economy, to development as a whole. And it's for this reason that Nigeria became the 77th shareholder of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development quite.
Nigeria is, for us, a strategic partner, as you know. The European Union and Nigeria maintain a long-standing partnership built on political dialogue, shared values and regional cooperation. And not only is your country considered a strategic partner for the EU, but because you are Africa's most populous nation, you are also a major regional political and economic power in West Africa. Understand also this visit as a will that, or a show of will that we in the European Parliament know that Nigeria is such an important player in Africa, and that we are very interested in further deepening the close cooperation we already have.
The National Human Rights Commission says it received more than 370,000 complaints of human rights violations across Nigeria in September, with the North Central region topping the list. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Tony Ojukwu, made this known in Abuja during the presentation of the 2025 September Dashboard Report. Ojukwu said the observatory offers an honest reflection of the state of human rights in the country, not just as numbers, but as stories of lives and liberties lost. The complaints range from denial of access to justice, unlawful arrest and detention, to domestic and sexual violence, torture, and discrimination. In Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara has assured the Kalabari people that the Trans-Kalabari Road will be completed promptly. The Trans-Kalabari Road, one of the Governor Fubara's landmark project, traverses Obiapo, Akuku, Toru, Asari Toru, and Dagama local government areas, crossing through swamps and creeks to connect island communities to Port Harcourt, the state capital, and its environs, while inspecting the 12.5-kilometer road, which includes 4 bridges measuring 576, 288, 360, and 108 meters, respectively, at a total deck on piles length of 1,760 meters. Governor Fubara expressed satisfaction with the project's progress.
I personally came here to inspect this project. This is the Trans-Kalabari project that we flagged off about a year ago. I've been getting reports from the ministry, but I felt I need to come and see for myself what is really happening here. If you are aware that this project, the first phase of it is going to take us to Bakana. We have about 4 river crossing bridges and almost 5 deck-on-pile. You can see for yourself that this project is purely a very difficult project because of the terrain. I can attest to the report that I've been receiving that 70%, almost 75% of the piling job, which is the key thing, have been achieved. And by the grace of God, in the next 6 months, I'm very, very positive that if we are coming here for inspection, we might run through the bridge. And we made a promise to our people that we'll continue to embark on projects that will change their life and bring development. As everyone can see, this is a key project that is going to around the life of the Kalabari people. Immediately this project is concluded.
Outside of Nigeria, a court in Mali, in the capital Bamako, has sentenced former Prime Minister Musa Mara to 1 year in prison over a social media post supporting political prisoners in the military-run country. The court found Mara guilty of undermining the credibility of the state and opposing legitimate authority. His sentence includes an additional 1 year suspended term, along with a fine of 500,000 CFA francs, roughly about $887 US. Mara, who served as Prime Minister between 2014 and 2015, has been detained since 1st of August after writing on social media that he had met with political prisoners and promised justice. Prosecutors had pushed for a 24-month sentence. That's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aboroa. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. And this morning we're going to be reviewing the newspapers, the front pages of the newspapers. We have our head of research and digital news editor here at News Central, Abdul Latif Ahmed. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and
thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
I wanted to say congratulations on winning the election.
What election?
Not you winning the elections.
Neighbors to the
Our
east.
neighbors have won the elections.
In Central Africa.
I have concluded the elections.
Well,
Ivory Coast, Cameroon.
Cameroon, yes.
And
Tanzania,
and also Ivory Coast.
Tanzania is going, to the polls. Well, it's a lot of mixed feelings. Elections have held, but people had to die. Sometimes I wish we can run elections without, the unnecessary violence, the unnecessary repression, because elections should go beyond, individuals, but the state. People should be able to go into elections with a lot of joy and expectation. But this time, people were killed, voters were suppressed, and the outcomes were nearly, as predictable as, it used to be. There's a lot of grumbling, from the oppositions and the masses, but there's really no way around it. The courts that they will approach are,
courts that are controlled by state elements.
State, yeah.
So sad.
And what's the African Union doing about this? Because if
African Union
what does the African Union? They said the elections were credible.
That the elections match international standards.
So that's where the problem is. If the people who voted are saying one thing and the African Union is saying another thing, it means that somebody is living, in the reality of it.
Beyond the elections itself, looking at the morality of it, this is a 92-year-old man who is obviously in cognitive decline. And then the erasure of term limits. We saw that. And the irony, of course, is that one of the reasons why Ouattara won first term was because Laurent Gbagbo, his predecessor, tried to overstay in office and then led to a civil war. And then you came into office and you're repeating the same things and you got away with it. So, so why do they always complain when there's a military takeover? They suspend them from ECOWAS, they suspend them from African Union. But when, these civilian heads of states are perpetrating themselves in office continually, removing term limits, Uganda, everywhere, name it, they never have anything to say about it.
So someone was said that most African leaders belong to the same WhatsApp group. They think the same way.
It's an old boys club.
So
but they've added a girl in Samia Suluhu.
They added a girl.
Playing the game.
So she's probably learned to even do better than they are doing.
Yes.
But the problem is, most times, people say a lot of things about people in power. But in getting into power, they perpetrate about the same things. Maybe they are even inspired by the activities going on in Washington. Because everybody is saying, somebody's saying he might extend his tenure in office.
Trump.
Yes. So it's greed, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into the papers straight away and start with The Punch. The Punch is sharing all the drama that's been happening with the People's Democratic Party as its big story. It says chairmanship. PDP consensus deal shatters as Lamido rejects Turaki. Tension ahead of convention. Screening postponed indefinitely. Lamido heads to court. Turaki advances bid. Insecurity. Tinubu presses new service chiefs for immediate action. Hardship. Akpabio Yuwada challenged Nigerians to monitor governors. Collapsed Lagos building. Occupants ignored distress signs, according to residents. This is so sad.
Let's start with that.
We should start with that.
Okay.
So you see, the thing is, most times Nigerians would always, when you see fact on ground, when you see clear warnings, Nigerians have a way of trying to attach everything to God. God does not build houses. He doesn't have bricklayers. It is about human thinking. So if you have advanced warning about the structural integrity of the building, why do you stay a little, longer? You're supposed to look for, a way around it. Just move out of the building or make arrangements.
But the state also has a responsibility
Absolutely.
to make sure you are not living in that building. Yes, distressed building.
Yeah, because most of the buildings that have come down lately are distressed buildings that people should ordinarily not be living in. On the issue of what is that on the...
Let's also move on to the front page.
Yeah.
Chairmanship, PDP consensus deal shatters as Lamido rejects Turaki, tension ahead of convention.
Yeah.
Is this being sensational as the consensus deal shattered, or one man is allowing himself to be used as a spanner in the works of the People's Democratic Party? Because they have a consensus candidate. And Lamido says in the Daimini, he wakes up, maybe he got an inspiration or he dreamt he will be chairman one day and says, send me a form. And they said the form is not available. And now we have the screening has been postponed indefinitely, and we're seeing all of this. How do you interpret this? Unpack it for us, please.
So for me, everything happening in politics, in the political space, has to do with how you are able to distill your time. We have 16 days to the National Convention of the PDP. How do you, 16 days ahead of convention, not be able to speak in one voice? So the unfortunate thing about this is that they are dancing around issues that will make the ruling party.
Are you saying they're not speaking in one voice? Or
they are not, because
one man is trying to truncate?
What is happening, what I realized was that we have three camps here. Lamido on his own side, Turaki, who is the general consensus candidate of most of the governors and leaders in the party. But Wike wants an Otom, his man, so you have three different factions.
Yeah, at this point, I think the People's Democratic Party can be used as a prayer point. I mean, the House not be divided.
like PDP.
But the PDP is not going to agree. Please, let's be careful what we say. Two interviews this morning, media has been accused of stirring the flames of division.
This division.
We are hopeful for them.
Saying it's going to court.
Whatever he does, as long as it is not against the party's extant laws, it's fine.
They say that he did not follow due process. That they say that the date for submission of form was closing, and that was when he was going to pick up form, and where he went to pick up form from a data plaza is not where he should have picked up form. That he didn't follow due process.
So if he didn't follow due process, he only has himself to blame.
He's going to court.
It's fine. Let him go to court.
Reduce Nigerian courts.
Let him go to court. But
is this the law school you went to?
Wow. No, innocent legal law school don't collect.
How do you see this playing out? Would they resolve it in 16 days?
I hope they resolve it. That gives them a robust front. Yeah, a robust front to fight against the ruling party.
Now, one more story on the front page of the Punch newspapers before we move to this day. The headline there shows the service chiefs, the newly appointed service chiefs, with their commander-in-chief of the armed forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It was his first time of meeting them, and he has given them the marching order. He's calling for immediate action. Do you think this change of personnel at the higher echelon of Nigeria's security architecture will make any difference, or is it old wine in new bottle?
New bottle. But before you respond, let's hear from Stanley.
Okay.
Stanley is calling from Benin. Good morning, Stanley. Thank you for calling Breakfast Central. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Oliver, and good morning, Benja.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay. I want to comment on these elections in Africa with Cameroon and
Ivory Coast
in perspective. I'm just not happy with the African Union. I think the African Union is one of the problems we had. A few days ago, after the election after the overthrow or the demonstration in Madagascar, African Union suspended Madagascar from being a member of African Union. And now look at the career that happened in Cameroon. From onset, people were demonstrating. The daughter of the president came out and said, "Do not vote for my father." The daughter of the president came out and said, "Do not vote for my father." So now they've done what they did, and they brought in a 92-year-old man who is having cognitive issues. I mean, he doesn't know where he is. He does not know anything, and he sent in a acceptance speech through a text message to the person who is governing. We know clearly that the man is not in charge. He's just a group of persons who are just trying to foster their interests. And African Union has already welcomed, said the election meets international stuff that I'm not happy with this. The future of the people is being compromised. That's just my contribution.
Thank you so much, Stanley. And Abdulateef, the irony is he did release an acceptance statement.
Yeah.
And we saw during the campaign, he campaigned with what Oliver has described as doll baby effigy. He couldn't come out in person.
It's not me that said that, it was you.
And my fear is that when this man passes, God forbid, may God grant him long life.
Yeah,
I don't know why you're laughing. That people might not even know he's passed because he rarely makes public appearances.
Because most of what is happening in Cameroon today
insane.
Is being run by people, around, the establishment, not necessarily him, because he can't take most of the decisions that...
exactly. He doesn't have the cognitive ability.
Well, he's not the only one that campaigned with mannequin. Did you not see Yoweri Museveni's campaign too with mannequin?
No, that one is... I mean, you can't compare them. You can compare them in terms of longevity, but Yoweri is very active.
Agile,
and agile. Yeah. Back to our story on the service chiefs. So, old wine, new bottle, or how much of a difference would it make?
Well, when I looked at, the frequency with which service chiefs were changed, I realized that most of them were between 2 to 3 years, except for, say, what's this man from Borno State again? Buratai. So I didn't see it as unusual beyond the hoopla that was generated around Ku's care and all that. I'm hoping that those that have given their best to the fight against insurgency, insecurity in the country, and maintain they've had some progress. These ones will do better than they had done. I particularly commend the effort of the CDS, fine gentleman who has proved his mettle, on the ground.
As Chief of Army Staff.
Yeah,
all right.
Chief of Defense Staff. Christopher Musa. We look at some of these things and we say we can do better than what had been done. Some will continue to criticize, but those who do not know the dimensions that the cross-border crimes are taking will assume that the service chiefs are not doing enough. I hope to see something better, a more coherent strategy against the miscreants.
We really hope so too.
Okay, still on the front page, we have Natasha broke penal code in attacks on Akpabio and Bello, according to Attorney General of the Federation.
Well,
doctors mobilized for Friday's strike amid 38 billion naira unpaid allowances. Tinubu, Obasanjo lead dignitaries to honor late Christopher Kolade. Yes, these are the story. Okay, let's take the bottom pages as well. Terrorism, Judge begs Kanu in God's name to consult lawyers.
There you go again. Invoking the name of God.
Let's start with that.
Yes, please.
Kanu's case is a terrible case. There is almost no lawyer, what his name, legal counsel, who will stick his neck and say, I want to stand in for this person. However, the law allows that, regardless of how serious the case is, somebody has to speak for you, help defend, and see if, the punishment that you would have received can be reduced. Probably some will be given life sentences, will have their
depending on how they plead your case.
Exactly. However, looking at how theatrical Kanu has been over the years, and sometimes I would say incoherent, in terms of how he thinks. I'm not sure how he thinks, but at some point he sacked his counsel. At the other time, he spoke badly to them in court, and now he's saying he wants to speak for himself. The danger in this is that what it means is that he leaves the judge to look at the allegations or accusations of, the federal government, and his judgment will rely on that accusation. What he's trying to do is to put up a front of a strong man.
So why is the judge pleading with him to consult his lawyer?
Because it is almost a given that the case against him will be judged in a way that he will be found guilty. The case, he has gotten to the end of the road, and what he's doing is just to say, you know what, I can mess this up by being irrational.
Maybe he wants to take a higher moral position.
There is no other position.
The Nigerian government kidnapped him through extraordinary rendition.
He has exhausted his arguments. He has exhausted his arguments. There's nothing else he can say. Being kidnapped does not mean that you are not guilty of the offense that you have been accused of. So, the question is, the offenses that have been leveled against him, has he been able to prove himself innocent of that? No. And then he's saying senior judges like Kanu Agabi should not speak for him. The other ones should not speak for him. He wants to speak for himself.
So what he's, what we will see that he's arguing for is that you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. And if you're saying that he committed a crime, you're taking into cognizance the fact that courts both in Nigeria and in Kenya have ruled that there was an extraordinary rendition, that he was illegally, quote-unquote, kidnapped and brought back to Nigeria, and that they're part of a treaty, that they have gone foul of that one too. He's saying that he did not escape, he did not jump bail, his house was attacked, his family was attacked, and he escaped with his life. Well, that may be, some would argue that that may be a strong enough defense. Well, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be opening the phone lines and taking more calls, and still in the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the front pages of the papers, and the numbers to call are still on your TV screen. Please call the number on your screen and share your thoughts on any of the papers. Let's quickly move to another newspaper. Let's see what the front page of the New Telegraph is saying this morning. On the front page of the New Telegraph, I'm being pressured to join APC, says Mutfwang. We have that video and I'll call for it shortly. As Oyebanji emerges, ruling party's consensus candidate for Ekiti gubernatorial elections. Edo APC to suspend commissioners sent out of ESCO meeting for not wearing a Shiwaju cap. That is by... Why are you laughing now?
I'm Latif, the next time you're here, it would be nice for you to show up in your Shiwaju cap.
I don't have such a cap.
Why?
I don't. So when I looked at that...
No cap.
When I looked at...
No cap.
When I looked at that headline, I was like, you are being mandated to to go on the mandate. I mean, it's not compulsory. People should be free to express themselves. The use of a certain insignia or logo or motive is dependent on the person donning it. So there is no rule in the party that says
it's not a uniform.
It's not a uniform, so it's choice. So it's not even as if they're having a convention or a national fiesta or something for which everybody wants to come out in their Ashwebi, in this case, the president's logo. So you're having meetings with the governor. What does that have to do with the president in Abuja?
Exactly.
So it shouldn't be.
No, but the president is the governor is a big fan of the president. He's promised him 2 million votes in 2027.
Let's see how that plays out.
Let's hear from Comrade Eze, who's calling us from Enugu. Good morning, Comrade Eze. Please go ahead with your contribution. Comrade Eze, are you still with us? It's like we have lost connection to Comrade Eze. So yeah, you were talking about the promise of how many million
2
votes?
million votes.
2 million votes. Even though legally he can only deliver one vote.
Vote for himself. Vote. So he's saying, well, let's see how his promise, I mean, sometimes because they want to curry favors from the government, they promise a lot. So sometimes we have to test such promises by the events that unfold, in the elections. Let's keep fingers crossed.
Okay.
Okay, still on the front page, I want us to go back to that story, and I'll call for the video now. The video of Governor Caleb Mutfwang, the governor of Plateau State, saying he's being pressured to join the APC. So if our producers can please put up that video, and we'll come back to get Abdulatif's reaction to the video.
Okay.
All right?
So before the video plays, just to look at the state of play in Nigerian politics right now, we've seen a massive wave of defections. They'll tell you, it's not a new thing in Nigeria. We always, the ants would always go towards the sugar. But let's take a listen.
That they also put pressure on me. But I told them, only 2 people will authorize me to change party. One is the God of heaven. The other is you people. You asked me to go anywhere? No. Have you asked me to go anywhere? No. So those who are rejecting me for what I did not look for. They are doing a useless exercise. And they are only hiding their desire. They are only hiding their desire. The truth is that 60–70% of the people in APC on the plateau, I make bold to say, they will be glad to have us in their party. It's just that they are biting their finger. Musambaze is over. That's why they are angry and trying to twist it. And if I'm... Anyway, let me leave it there.
Now, in addition to this, Benga has predicted that this is Shalaye, initial gra-gra. That by the 1st of January, he predicted that Governor Caleb Mutfwang and Governor, Governor Diri will move to the APC.
There's a reason for that. Mutfwang, for the 3rd time, was being accused by his party members of having inappropriate or anti-party activities with the APC. A lot of people know that
strange bedfellows.
Fellows. You see, but there are no permanent friends in politics. It's permanent interest. So there's no problem if the governor has some good working relationship with the president. But for your party members to accuse you frontally, publicly, there's an issue. That's one. 2, his attempt to explain away, APC's intention to... He's simply supposed to state that he does not have interest in moving to the APC and stick to that.
Yeah,
but
you
now
categorically say.
Yes, categorically state that. Don't say they're trying to force him, they're trying to threaten him. And the fact that he was even referencing God makes it more laughable. Politicians have a way of hiding behind God. You get?
I think they should leave God out of it.
Out of it. Just tell people where you stand or where you are directed. Mind you, the fact that he's in PDP does not mean he does not have interest in working for the president. The president doesn't even need you to be in APC for you to work or to deliver for him.
I mean, after all, the FCT minister is a member of the PDP.
PDP, but he's working for the president. So all these things politicians say, they try to be smart by half and all that. If you can read in between the lines, you know where they are directed.
However, this reminds me of when people say it's the devil that made me do this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the work of the devil.
In the North Central, you realize that he's the only one that is not in the same party. Others are in APC. So 5 against 1. He may feel circumscribed or made small by the fact that others are in APC. But regardless, let him face the work he's doing in the state and deliver to his people.
But how do we stop this cross-carpeting, or is something that we have to live with? And I mean, it seems all the governors, we might end up, and this is what raises conversations about a one-party state, that are their excuses tenable? We want to align with the center, we're bringing more dividends of democracy to our states, or do we have a structural problem, the fault lines with the Constitution that gives the center so much power that people are looking for balancing and alignment everywhere?
So it's not more of a constitutional problem, but a funding problem. I say that if you do not fund your party correctly, you stand a chance of being poached by the other party that has a better funding. So people are heading to election. They know the stakes are high. They know they are contending.
So it's for electoral survival.
Yes, for survival. It's not as if they, because they love APC and all that, but they are thinking, how do I survive this behemoth? How do I survive this, the collection of, aggressive forces that are trying to dislodge me?
So
they would rather stay in
it's best you
join them. That's what exactly they're doing.
All right.
If you fund your parties correctly, you realize that regardless of who is in power, you have your party, your purpose, your manifesto.
Is
you
it
stick
really
to it.
funding, or if you do the work?
So it's both of them.
It's not money that...
Yes, but if you don't fund the party, who is campaigning on your behalf? A lot of Nigerians even know, okay, this governor has done well. But when it comes to translating that into voting for them, they could get deflected by the other person who is offering, Omo and soap.
Speaking of Omo and soap, still on the front page of New Telegraph, at the bottom right, ADC alleges that the federal government is manipulating food prices for political gains, as APC chair tells Nigerians to hold governors accountable for hardship.
That's very...
Has food reduced?
Like a bag of rice now, according to the coordinating minister of the economy, Mr. Wale Edu, he says it's 80,000 naira.
Well, the truth of the matter is food prices are reducing across board. But it does not mean that we cannot do better. We can have more affordable pricing, and it has happened in the past 1 month. We've seen in the north and even in the south, but that itself is not as significant as investment in agriculture, sustainable investment in agriculture, preservation, and
the entire value chain.
Value chain, exactly.
All right, we have Kingsley calling. Let's hear from Kingsley.
From Benin City.
Good morning, Kingsley.
Yeah, I just want to talk about governor of Edo State, our governor, about the ESCO did not wear
Ashwaju
cap. Is it a secret court?
Good question.
Is it a secret court? That is number one. Number two, he said he want to give Ashwaju 2 million votes. He is the one that has to pack the people to the polling booth to preach. I don't understand. But the way our governors these days, the way they are doing, I don't really understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Kingsley, I think what
a valid question.
Very valid question.
Is it a secret court?
Exactly, and then how do you garner 2 million votes?
I mean, it doesn't mean he will physically force.
Yeah, but he's just saying.
But he will use his influence as governor, as the chief executive of the state.
I mean, just like in Anambra State.
Exactly.
To convince the people like this is the man.
Just like in Anambra State, where Governor Chukwuma Soludo has promised different words, 5 million, 3 million, and 2 million, for those who will have the highest votes. And they say it is not financial inducement, that it's incentives that they're giving.
Okay. But ADC's accusation is very baseless.
Okay, how do they manipulate? Exactly.
You can't manipulate,
how do you manipulate food prices?
You can't manipulate food prices.
Maybe what they mean is that they're lying.
Market.
Maybe that's what they mean.
No. That's not what they mean. They are saying they are manipulating.
You cannot manipulate
prices for political gains.
In a country of 230 million, you can't manipulate food prices. The president had ordered that
maybe
food prices.
Maybe the policy of allowing some food imports.
Yeah, so that's understandable.
Regarded as manipulation.
It's not manipulation. If you are making sure that there's food security in the country through some regulations in terms of, because you can't import everything. There are things that you should not import ordinarily. But if you're ensuring that there's availability of food and all that, you cannot say it's manipulation. It's like when we had issues with refining in Nigeria, and we're trying to import some amount of fuel to ensure that there's no shortage of fuel and all that. You can't say it's manipulation. It's public knowledge that you just need certain amount of PMS supply to ensure that vehicles run smoothly and there is no needless traffic and anxiety in the system.
Okay, let's move to our final paper this morning.
The new
okay, I'll come back to this one if we have time. On the new Telegraph, this day newspaper rather, on the front page of this day newspaper, Amopitan, court can't continue to decide election winners. It must be at polling units. And we agree with you.
Absolutely.
2,055%. Vows to reduce pre-election litigation, seek support at 56. NALT conference says with sound legal framework, necessary reforms, losers won't hesitate to congratulate winners. What will we need to do really to ensure that losers and winners, that's just like President Goodluck Jonathan said, he called President Buhari to congratulate him. When will we have those kind of elections?
So the first thing is that I like the tone of the new INEC chair, saying that litigation should be sorted out mostly ahead of the election. It makes it a lot easier. The tension reduces. But you see, the reason why we have a lot of tension in the system is because of the reward system. What is the reward of being a politician? If you are in government, what is the reward system? When you ensure that the remuneration is crashed to like 25% of what they earn at the moment, people will not be so aggressive, in wanting to get into power. It won't be a do or die affair because what's the incentive? What are you paying people to be in power? But because there's a lot attached to it, there's a lot of remuneration and a lot of packages and all that.
Life-changing.
Life-changing. So people want to kill because of it. So even when someone is losing, in fact, the truth of the matter is most times politicians know when they are losing. They have situation rooms, they have observation rooms and all that. But they do not want to agree. They do not want to face their audience.
So losers.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're so losers. They don't want to face their, their grass. Their.
But sometimes I do get your point, Ablati. But there are sometimes that they have genuine reasons.
Absolutely.
Grouses.
Absolutely.
Because the system has been manipulated. There's fraud, and they have a right to
challenge it. That's fine. When they do that, there's no problem with it. The issue is when even the process that makes people emerge. For example, we were talking about PDP not too long ago. I like the fact that they are trying to do a consensus arrangement to say, you know what, we've had too many internal rifts too many fights. We do not need to expend our energies and money on, who is what. Let's just agree. We know who works, who is going to work fine for us. And then they are trying to agree around a candidate. It makes sense to me. It's kind of efficient. But now, somebody's throwing in the spanners. Sort it out before the election. Go to court, get your court judgment, whatever, sort it out before election. So that by the time the election finally holds, or the convention holds, we are clear about who is, the party chairman is and the party leadership is.
I mean, in the early days of our democracy, the cases we used to see used to be, one party A versus party B. But now, there's so much internal fighting that you haven't even gone out to battle. You're already fighting yourselves in courts and everywhere. Let's hope we'll sort it out.
Hope is not a strategy.
They say we are still a nascent democracy even after 26.
Yes, we are, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Maybe when we get to 300 years old,
I'm not
America
will now stabilize. I'm not surprised that
would have moved beyond that Cameroonian level.
I'm not surprised that this is happening to the opposition parties, at the center. When the president was a governor in Lagos State, the opposition was behaving almost in this manner. Directionless, rudderless, there's no coherence in their strategy. They were this way in the morning and this way at night. I'm not surprised. The only thing is, we are a strong country, 230 million people. We should be able to reason, and about 92 million registered voters. How is it impossible to put our anger, frustration, our wishes and hopes and aspirations together and say, you know what, we need 10 million or 20 million people to dislodge the president? You see, it's about strategy. It's about thinking coherently. It's about saying, we need the numbers. How do we get the numbers from 774 local governments from Nigeria?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So much things to go through.
Too many things to go through. Abdul Latif, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And always bringing experts, insight, and analysis.
We're also looking forward to you attending the inauguration in Cameroon. Maybe on your way back, you can bring us some Cameroon pepper to pepper us.
On your way back, please help us give our fondest regards to Kathleen. We may not be here to congratulate her and the entire people in Cameroon. All right, I said this earlier, but I want to wrap up the show with, again, a very special shout out to my mom, who's a year older today. So happy birthday, Mommy, and thank you for being such a beautiful model of love, light, and of Christ. Until I come your way again, this is Breakfast Central. We'll be back. Jatsiri takes over next. Thank you very much to our guests who've joined us physically, as well as those who've joined us virtually, as well as those live streaming. We'll be back again tomorrow. My name is Olive Emodi.
And I'm Benga Bora. Happy birthday, Mrs. Emodi.
Thank you,
I'm skipping breakfast tomorrow because we're expecting cake. Yes.
Happy birthday.
Oh, and Johansson will be back tomorrow.